Good morning. Good morning, everyone. This is Julie LaRock from the South Florida Water Management District. Welcome to the quarterly Everglades Technical Oversight Committee meeting. This is one of our routine quarterly meetings today. We've got a number of folks online. We're going to introduce the so-called panelists on Zoom. You folks are able to unmute and speak primarily if your rep calls on you or when I beg for a lawyer to answer a question. Only kidding. I'm going to go ahead and have folks introduce themselves as we get started. And just remind everyone who's here, this is a hybrid meeting. We have in-person folks in the audience and quite a few folks, another 20 or 30 people actually are listening online besides the panelists. So Rolf, maybe I could get you to go first, if you don't mind. Introduce yourself and whoever you have in the audience or maybe panelists.
Good morning. My name is Rolf Olson. I am representing the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. I am filling in for Lori Miller, who retired in January, and my supervisor, Kathleen Burchett, is in the audience.
Great, thank you. And I'm just going around the table in order here, so I'll get to you, Dan. Ed, how about you?
Morning, Julie. Ed Smith, DEP. Not sure who is online from DEP. I know, let's see, Jordan Tidio is online, Mylene Sotolongo Lopez is online, and Kenny Heyman is also online. I believe that's it from DEP.
Thank you so much.
Julie, I'd also like to just mention that Chuck DeMonico, this is Kenny Heyman. Chuck DeMonico is unable to attend today for DEP. Unfortunately, his wife passed away last week, and we're all thinking of Chuck.
Thank you, Kenny. And yes, we will all think of Chuck. He's a longtime team member here, so. Okay, Donato, could you please introduce yourself and whichever teammates you have? And I'm not sure we were able to do mic checks for those that just tuned in, so.
Good morning, Donato Surratt, Everglades National Park. I have my supervisor, Melody Naja, for South Florida Natural Resources Center online, and I think that's it. And we have Bob Johnson as well. Thank you.
Okay, great, thanks. Let's see, Dan Crawford, I know you're out there. Could you please say hello and introduce any of your teammates who we have as panelists?
Good morning, Julie. This is Dan Crawford, TSC rep for the Army Corps of Engineers Jacksonville District. Also online from the Corps of Engineers, we have Ms. Brooks Moore from Jacksonville Office of Counsel, and we have Patty Boxold and Johanna Anderson from our USACE headquarters, Office of Counsel.
Great, thank you. And I'm going to start flying blind because my computer is just disconnected from the internet. So as I mentioned earlier, I'm Julie LaRock with the South Florida Water Management District. And here in the audience, we have Jody Hutchins, Stuart Van Horn, and I have to lean to look behind Donato, but Chelsea Q is also here. For those of you who are on Zoom, I'm not going to be able to see you raise your hand or anything else until I get reconnected to the internet, so please forgive me for that.
And I'll just indicate this is John Barquette, Special Master.
Thank you, Mr. Barquette. So I'm hoping we got through everyone. I believe we did a couple of other mic checks with Department of Justice. If you could just re-identify yourself, that would be great. Thank you.
Yes, good morning. This is Maggie Woodward, and I'm also joined by Judy Coleman from DOJ.
Great, thank you so much. I'm asking Violetta to please let the folks back in the back know that, I'm having a little technical difficulty here. So I think what I've learned is when you change your password, sometimes your computer isn't very happy. All right, we're going to go ahead here with a few things. If you're on the phone, please do mute your phone when you're not speaking and reduce the volume on your computer so we can avoid feedback here in the auditorium. Try to listen only from one source, your PC, your phone, whatever you're using. Let's see, if you wish to speak during the meeting, we're going to have to play that by ear because I'm not going to see you raise your hand. If you are a panelist, it would be great if you could wait for your rep here to call on you to speak. And we'll have to deal with the hand raising and all the rest of it if I ever get reconnected here. So just bear with us if you don't mind. But you do use a raise hand feature in Zoom, or you can press *9 to raise your hand, and you can unmute your microphone by pressing *6. Okay. I did have the website up so I could tell you what's on there, but I'm going to read what's on there, so just to let you guys know that. We will take public comment at the end of the meeting, so I didn't want to forget to mention that. Let's see. Public speakers. If you are here in person and you do have public comment, we would appreciate a public comment sheet, and I've already got one. And then normally we don't respond to public comments, but I guess that depends on the comment. We will try to take action items at the end of the meeting if we're able to do that. On the TOC webpage, if you're able to look at it, you should be able to see the presentation that Chelsea will be making today. There's also draft meeting notes from the December meeting. And then there's instructions if you're participating in Zoom, and you can actually go online. We also have the third quarter, that's July through September. We have the third quarter narrative report, the quality assessment report, as well as the related data file, all covering July through September, which is what we're presenting today. And then we have the compliance and tracking tables also posted for the refuge from 2007 through the third quarter, and for Shark River Slough, the provisional tracking through the end of the third calendar quarter, as well as Taylor Slough and Coastal Basins. For those of you that are logging into the district's webpage, the final agenda is also under our public meetings calendar, so something for you guys to look for. Next, we would be also looking at if there are agenda modifications. I've had a couple of comments about the agenda. So I did want to make a note now. It is true, the S333 working group item is not on the agenda. And the reason is we didn't really feel there wasn't any substantive updates to be made today to warrant an actual presentation. I will tell you, I do know the working group still meets. They're reviewing construction plans and additional modeling information, among other things, and everything is still on track in accordance with the schedule that Jody presented at the last meeting. However, if there are other questions about the S333 working group, we would want to cover those after Chelsea's briefing, if that's okay with everybody. And thank you for the head nod in the audience. I appreciate that. So let's see. Next is the December meeting summary that is posted on the web, and you guys that are here in person should have a paper copy. I believe these were sent out in advance to the reps. I don't remember seeing comments, but if you have any now or would like to recommend approving the December meeting notes.
Julie, this is Ed Smith, DEP. I don't have any edits or comments on the notes. Thank you.
This is Rolf Olson, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. No edits or comments.
Okay, thank you. Donato or Dan? Hello, Dan.
This is Dan Crawford. I have no edits or comments, and I would make a motion that we go ahead and approve the minutes. Over.
Thank you.
This is Donato. I second that motion, and I have no comments.
Great, thanks, everybody. The meeting notes will be reposted as final. Thanks a lot, everyone. All right, next on our agenda is Chelsea. She's going to present the third quarter of calendar year 2024, the settlement agreement report. So come on up, Chelsea.
Okay, good morning, everyone. This is Chelsea Q with the South Florida Water Management District. So I'm here to present the settlement agreement report for the third quarter of 2024. So this report covers 3 areas: the refuge, Shark River Slough, and Taylor Swan coastal basins. And each area is assessed with a different compliance method. So for the refuge, the assessment is performed monthly. So we have the final compliance results for July, August, and September. For park inflows into Shark River Slough and Taylor Swan coastal basins, the compliance is assessed annually in the federal water year from October to September. So in the third quarter reporting, we presented water year 2024 compliance results. So the water year 2024 compliance results for Taylor Swan coastal basins. What? Okay. So the water year 2024 compliance results for Taylor Swan coastal basins are final, but the Shark River Slough results are still provisional. And we'll present the final compliance results in the next meeting once USGS provides the final S12 flow data. So on this table, for various assessment periods, so all areas met their respective limits except for Shark River Slough. And this summary table provides the specific numbers. Here the Shark River Slough water year 2024 results is shown in the middle section, right before this green row, the 12-month period ending in September. So the water year 2024 Shark River Slough flow-emitting TP concentration was 8 parts per billion, exceeds the long-term limit of 7.6 parts per billion. But the percent of sampling events greater than 10 parts per billion was 20%, about a half below the guideline, half of the guideline, 40%. And if you look at this summary table, looking vertically along these columns, the third column represented the limits in the various assessment periods. And the fourth column to the right represent the observed data for comparison against the limits. So among these 3 areas, if you look at third column for the limit, Shark River Slough typically has the lowest limit. So what we found is the compliance method used for each areas can affect the compliance results. For example, both Shark River Slough and Taylor Swan coastal basins have fixed limits. So for Shark River Slough with fixed limits at 7.6 parts per billion, it's effectively impossible to meet this ultra low limit. For Taylor Swim coastal basins with a fixed limit of 11 parts per billion, it never has had an exceedance. So this slide shows the refuge compliance status. So this top section covers the 3 month well reporting for the third quarter, and the bottom section provides an outlook in the next 4 months. So again, the third column represents the long-term level, the limit. The fourth column represents the geometric mean TP concentration of observed data for every month. And each month, except for October 2024, met the long-term level. So October 2024 had an excursion. So this slide presents the 3-year compliance status in the refuge. So that refuge has a stage-based limit. So here, this solid red line represents the long-term level, the limit. It's inversely related with stage. So the stage is represented in these stepwise line with the purple shade. So when the stage was high, for example, in October, November 2023, the long-term level was at 7.1 parts per billion. In May 2024, when the stage was low, right before it's dried out, the long-term level was 17.5 parts per billion. It's more than double the lowest minimum value. And for the past 3 years, the average TP geometric mean was 6.8 parts per billion, which was 2.1 parts per billion below the average of the long-term level. And this slide basically shows the similar information. Now move on to Shark River Slough. Here, the row right before this yellow shaded row, so the 12-month period, October 2023 to September 2024, represent the water year 2024 provisional compliance results. So the total flow was 1.5 million acre feet. Long-term limit fixed at 7.6 parts per billion, and the flow in mean TP concentration was 8 parts per billion. I said about 80% of samples, event samples, were below 10 parts per billion. That's what this means. And for historical compliance status, this solid red line represents the long-term limit in every year. So it used to fluctuate over the years, but for the past 3 years after COP implementation, the long-term limit is fixed at 7.6 parts per billion. And as a result, the flow mean concentration in the past 3 years exceeded this ultra-low limit. This slide displays the daily flow over the past 3 years. This is the daily flow discharge to Shark River Slough. So for this year's 2024 dry season, you can see the flow even decreased, but the slope was less steep as the previous dry season because of the El Nino event brought above normal rainfall. So that's why the flow even decreased but sustained quite high level. So this slide displays the daily flow discharged into Western Shark River Slough via S12A, B, C, D from the top to the bottom. So in the third quarter, S12A, B were flowing. So this slide displays the daily flow discharged into Northeast Shark River Slough between S33 and S334. So in this segment, L29 canal, 95% of flow come from S33 and S33N discharge. This slide shows similar information. And this slide shows the underlying data to calculate the 12-month flowing mean concentration. As I mentioned, the Shark River Slough compliance use the 12-month flow weight mean concentration. How do we calculate this number? So in every 12 months, there are 26 biweekly events. So during these biweekly events, the day of the sampling day, so this is the daily flow of the biweekly events, sampling events, and all shown in this blue bars. And the cyan dots represent the TP concentration coming with the flow. So these 26 pair of the biweekly flow and the TP concentration are composite to one number. And that number is represented here on the slide in blue diamonds. And this slide displays the challenge, illustrates the challenge in meeting the Shark River Slough limit. So this shows the past 3 years, the 12-month tracking flow with mean TP concentration and the long-term limit. As you can see, after the COP is implemented, the long-term limit shown in this purple dashed line is fixed at 7.6 parts per billion. And the time mean trail flow formula associated with the COP implementation increased flow under low stage, the 9.2 feet, which increased the 12-month flow mean TP concentration. You can see this blue diamonds now float above the long-term limit. Until the past few months, due to the El Nino rainfall, the staging in WCS 3A maintained a very high and TP concentration was lower, but still these 12-month tracking flow mean TP concentration exceeded the 7.6 parts per billion limit. So even with these El Nino rainfall help, still Shark River Slough cannot meet this limit. So how do we arrive at this ultra-low limit? So unlike Taylor Slough and coastal basins, the limit is fixed at 11 parts per billion regardless of flow. Shark River Slough follows a flow-based limit. So while we're talking about this high flow bringing benefits to the downstream to Everglades National Park, and it's also the accomplishment of the COP implementation. It's important to remember that it's the Appendix A framework links flow to long-term limit. And this Appendix A framework was established back in the 1990s and remain in use today. So for water quality TP concentration at 8 parts per billion, 80% of sampling events below 10 parts per billion, the water quality is good, and that the 1.5 million acre feet of flow is beneficial. So we've talked about daily flow, the biweekly flow, and TP concentration, how they're composite to the flow mean TP concentration. Then this slide add another important factor, which is the WCA3 stage shown in these solid blue line. So the TP concentration is closely related with this 3A stage. So here in the dry season, when the stage was maintained high, thanks to the El Nino rainfall, and the TP concentration shown in these yellow dots remained low, below 10 parts per billion, until around June, when the stage was dropped below, in this is relatively low, or below 9.2 feet at the S333, or in zone B for WCA 3A state. And then you see these yellow dots indicate the TP concentration increased. So move on to Taylor Slough and coastal basins. Here, the last row represents the water year 2024 compliance results. The total flow was 430,000 acre feet. The annual flow in TP concentration was 5.2 parts per billion, far below the 11 parts per billion limit. So looking at the historical compliance status, because the Taylor Slough coastal basin limit is fixed at 11 parts per billion, it has never had an exceedance. This slide shows the daily flow discharging into Taylor Slough coastal basins. So most of the flow come from S18C, is in the yellow shade, and S332D pumping in purple shade. This slide shows the daily flow via these structures in the past 3 years. So like in this quarter, you can see S18C discharge was quite high. The scales are different. And G737 was flowing. And this slide shows daily flow in and out of S332D flowway. So this red line represents flow passed by S332DX1 to north, and only the flow above this red line is counted in towards in the compliance calculation. This slide shows how the 12-month flow in concentration is calculated. So using these weekly flow data shown in these blue bars and the TP concentration in sign dot, and all of these weekly flow in 12 months is composite to one number on this shown in these blue diamonds. So this last blue diamond represents the water year 2024 flow in TP concentration 5.2 parts per billion. So before that, most of the are 12-month tracking until the ending month is September. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. Comments or questions for Chelsea? And if you are participating via Zoom, hopefully somebody in the back will let me know if you have your hand up. Donato, you're getting ready.
Good morning. Thank you, Chelsea. That was a great presentation. There were some characterizations at the beginning that I wanted to address. You stated that it is impossible to meet the 7.6 flow-weighted mean limit for water going into Shark River Slough. I do reflect back on water year 2018 from your slides, and it shows that we did meet compliance even at the 7.6 level with 1,700,000 acre feet of water coming into the system. And we were down at a 7.3 part per billion. So it seems like it is achievable. Another thing that I think I heard you suggest was that Shark River Slough was the only one with a varying limit, but the refuge also took advantage of hydrologic conditions to establish a metric that would vary with the changes in environment to give us a level that we could achieve to. And then so the fixed level that we have at Taylor Slough honestly is pretty high, and it was based on the early data in the 78 and 79 period for our baseline, and we've seen substantial improvement in water quality since then, which is why I would suggest we never see ourselves out of compliance with that metric. So those are the two things that I wanted to address here, and I'm definitely open to hearing feedback on those topics. Over.
Okay.
Thank you, Donato. Does anyone else have comments or questions, either for in response to Donato or for Chelsea? Okay, I'm hearing silence and I'm not seeing anybody in the back waving, so I think we're good for the moment. Thank you, everyone. Let's move on to the non-agenda item. Does anyone have questions or updates that you would like to hear from Jody on the S333 working group?
This is John Barquette. Just the status of the permits. In your last presentation, you indicated that the permit should be issued in March. And we are in March, not the end of March, but we're in March. So I'd like an update there. And then if you could just tell us how things are going on product design and specifications and the low sill weir round 2 modeling, what the update is on both of those.
Great. Jody can respond to that, and Ed is also here from a DEP permit perspective.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Special Master Barquette. So, as Julie mentioned earlier in today's meeting, the S333 working group continues to meet monthly. We had our last meeting last week on February 27th. And so, to answer your first question, Mr. Barquette, the status of permitting, what we heard at that February 27th working group update was that the FDEP public notice went out for issuance of the permit. And Ed, if you can speak to the timing of that, how many days after the when the solicitation goes out to when the permit gets issued? I would appreciate that.
Sure, thank you. Ed Smith, DEP. So we did issue the notice of intent to issue the permit on February 25th. The notice requires the district to do a publication of that, and from that publication, it's a 21-day noticing period. So it should be issued well within the month of March. So we are tracking that right now.
Thank you, Ed. And the update that we received from the Army Corps of Engineers for the Section 404 and the Section 408 was that the Section 408 approval letter was being routed to the engineering chief. So that was very near for being final. And the issuance of the Section 404 is dependent upon the approval of the Section 408. So that is the one pending item for the Section 404. In addition to that, we heard that there are some approvals that were needed for the Section 404 by the Florida Fish Service and the sign off from the tribes. So that is in process. And once that occurs, we will have our Section 404 permit. So that's the update that we heard regarding the permit. The next question you had, Mr. Barquette, I believe, was in reference to the design and the status of the solicitation. So I am happy to report that the design is complete, and we are preparing for a solicitation. And we are tracking going to the May governing board meeting for approval, with construction to begin in August. So that is reflected in the schedule, and and no change there from the last update I gave in December. And then I believe your last question was in regards to the modeling for task 2 and the low sill weirs. So that effort is ongoing. I will say it is complete in regards to what was conceptualized initially by the working group as far as the locations that were selected. So that modeling effort has been complete. However, when I say ongoing, it's because there are some tweaks that are being suggested by the working group. For example, potentially removing one of the internal weirs that's along the L67A canal to see if there's any, if there's actually any benefit of having it there. So there's just little modeling tweaks that are being requested by our modeling team that is in the works, but it's not going to delay the schedule as far as the design is concerned for task 2.
Very well, thank you. And by the way, I don't want you to feel any pressure from me. I want to make sure it's done right, but I also want to make sure that the public is kept informed.
Understood. Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Jody. I see a couple of folks are unmuted, but I'm not sure if you have comments or questions. Before we go to public comment, I did want to make a note for folks. You may have realized Saturday was the 1st of March, and that is the day we publish the South Florida Environmental Report. And honestly, I'm always so proud of all the folks at the district who contribute to that report. Many of you know my staff are scrambling for weeks and months to get that going. But there was a couple of things I wanted to show you. I think Jody's going to help me out a little bit here. Well, Donato, shame on you for distracting Jody. And thank you to our folks in IT who have managed to get my laptop back online. So I appreciate that, even though they've run out the back door already. So you can navigate to the South Florida Environmental Report by going to sfwmd.gov/SFER. We try to make it easy for you. As I mentioned, it was published on Friday, late in the day Friday. I also wanted you to know we are hosting an open house again this year. It will be the afternoons of Wednesday and Thursday. And the scientists who actually put this material together will be there in person from 1 to 3 on each of those days. And we've got pretty close to 40 posters which are related to the content of the South Florida Environmental Report. It's a great opportunity for you to come talk with them. And if you don't get to come talk with them, those posters are also collated and will be posted on the SFER webpage, possibly before Wednesday, but certainly by the time we host the open house. The other thing I wanted to look at is this piece that Jody has on the screen. It's the highlights. And, you know, one of the cool things about this document is not only is it the highlights of what's actually in the South Florida Environmental Report, but it focuses on a number of projects and accomplishments that have taken place in recent years and all the great projects that folks are getting done. So I've just asked Jody to kind of scroll through this a little bit to give you an idea of what's in there. And in particular, there's some graphics on page 4 that might be of interest to this group. And many of you know I work with data. I love data. I love to see proof that things are happening. And this is a graphic that shows something is happening. In the upper graphic, you can see some information on the left from through like 2020, I think. And then the right 3 panels actually will show you how much more hydration has taken place in Shark River Slough as well as Taylor Slough during these last few years since COP has been implemented. So that's a really great accomplishment, and Kudos to everyone that's making this happen, because I think it's really cool just to see it, right? And then the lower graphic is also depicting salinity levels in Florida Bay, and we're actually hitting the goals now. Again, after all this extra water is going through the park and out into Florida Bay. So I did want to point that out to everyone. Like I said, I like data, and maps are data, so I really appreciate being able to see that this year. I really encourage everyone to log into the website. You don't need a password. You can just go there and take a look at the South Florida Environmental Report, and also these highlights that really show all the projects and accomplishments that have happened in the last 5 years. So thanks for allowing me to showcase this to everyone. All right, I think we're up to public comment, but Ed looks like he wants to talk.
I was just hoping you could give us the dates of the open house again. I didn't catch those.
You know, I did not give you the dates. They are next week, Wednesday and Thursday. So that would be the 12th and the 13th of March. And as I mentioned, we'll actually have authors of chapters and people who created the posters will actually be there in person to answer questions. I think we'll have some computers there for folks to look at things. One of my folks is going to be talking about our new DB Hydro interface called DB Hydro Insight. So there will be a lot of really great information for folks who are able to make it next week. Okay, I don't see any hands, and I do have a computer in case you missed that part. Now we're into public comment. I would like to take public comment from folks who are here in person. So Mr. Cook, are you able to come on down to the podium here for your comments?
Yeah, thank you very much. Newton Cook, United Waterfowlers. I always enjoy this meeting. It's one of the smaller ones, but nonetheless, nice folks here, and folks know what they're doing, and that's important. And always glad to see Kathy come in. The numbers are always wonderful at this meeting. I mean, 10 to 13 parts per billion phosphorus going south of the trail. And every one of these meetings, everyone stands up here and tells us that we're basically meeting the consent decree or the court decree on water going into the park. Of course, not a lot of water going into the park. And not a lot of water going into the park. And that's unfortunate. You want to change?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Not a lot of water going into the park. Not a lot of water going out of the lake south. And there's the rub, is the water coming out of the lake's the dirtiest it's ever been. And the lake schedule that we're running on right now is going to make it dirtier, loathsome. And today, the lake's over 13 feet, and thank you very much, Colonel, for trying to do recover on the lake. We're not going to make 12 feet until maybe the end of this month, but recover requires 90 days at around 12 feet. Rainy season's not going to wait until July. We might be lucky, but I doubt it. If it does, we're going to really have a drought. So what I'm saying is we're making numbers, but the water is not getting any cleaner coming out of the lake and south. And until we address the lake and have cleaner water coming into the SDAs, the WCAs, long term, it's not going to get any better. It could get a lot worse. And I just have a great concern about the fact that we're not doing what needs to be done in Lake Okeechobee. We only can send 6,000 CFS out of the lake south. someday, somebody's going to decide we need to send 18,000 CFS out of the bottom of the lake. And that will actually save the estuaries. It's the only way you can save the estuaries from having discharges during a storm. And when you have 18,000 CFS coming out of the bottom of the lake, of very dirty water, that changes the whole dynamics all the way down to Florida Bay. So I think we need to be paying attention to the water quality north of the EAA. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. Do we have any other public comments? I can see if you raise your hand, so please do that if you're an attendee. And I see a panelist from US EPA that's been unmuted. I didn't know if you had comments. Anybody? Okay. Hearing none, I do need to remind folks we did look at dates for quarterly meetings, so I believe our next meeting is scheduled for June 24th, and I see Violetta scrambling up to the screen. I think we have a slide with the dates on it. So thank you for doing that, Violetta, and thanks for getting the IT folks here to help me out. Anything else? I don't think we have any other business, so I do want to thank you all for attending, and for the reps, we would look for your help in getting future agenda items, and I think we've heard maybe we need to include the working group, whether we have anything or not. So if that's it, I would suggest we can close the meeting today, if everyone's good with that. So thank you so much for being here.